Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, Sunday morning. What's going on with the quality of life in New York? With us today is Jay Clayton. He is the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, traditionally the most powerful U.S. Attorney's office in the country, and they do a little bit of everything. Well, Jay Clayton, fill us in. What the heck is going on in New York City, New York State, and your whole region?
Well, John, thanks for having me back. And what's going on right now is it's really cold out there. But other than that, we're still keenly focused on the quality of life for New Yorkers. And today I want to make it clear, John, that it's not just New Yorkers in New York City, but it's New Yorkers throughout the Southern District of New York, which includes much of the Hudson Valley, John. And this week, we went up to Orange County and got together with many, if not all, of our local law enforcement partners up and down the Hudson Valley to talk about quality of life. And unfortunately, John, the problems that we have with gangs in New York City, are not limited to New York City. There are gangs operating in the counties and the cities up and down the Hudson River. And I realize that we need to devote resources there to the same extent we do in New York. It's all one community, and to the extent that there are sophisticated, violent gangs anywhere up and down the Hudson River Valley, that needs our attention.
Understood. Now, they're pretty transient. I mean, does that mean you're working closer together? Because with New Jersey and the Eastern District, Long Island, and the Northern District, Albany and above, all you guys have to work together between the U.S. Attorney's Office.
That is so right, John, because criminals do not respect geographic boundaries. We are aware and we are tracking violent, organized gangs and crews that operate across New Jersey, New York, whether it's the Eastern District, the Southern District, the Northern District of New York, or New Jersey. And it's very important to be working across those jurisdictions with our federal law enforcement partners, but also with our state and local law enforcement partners. And John, I can't do these discussions without continuing to emphasize the work of the New York Police Department. The New York City Police Department just continues to impress me with their professionalism and their dedication to quality of life.
Now, there was a lot of concern that the current mayor, who we're all giving a chance to, we hope he succeeds in doing a good job, that he may give orders to the police department because he is the boss of the police department.
John, let me jump in there. Let me be clear, and I want New Yorkers to know this. To date, I have seen no change in our relationship with the New York City Police Department.
I'm happy to hear that. But the fear was there.
Yeah, look. As citizens, we should always be asking those questions, but it's also a question I should answer, and I continue to be so delighted with the quality of life commitment of the New York City Police Department.
Now, at one point, he wanted to get rid of that strategic unit, and he made public announcement on that. So that's not in the works at this point. You could say that.
Not that I'm aware of, John. And the preventative policing, the anticipation of the New York City Police Department is a huge contributor to quality of life in New York. Getting ahead of the criminals, speaking strategically, that's what modern. And let me say, John, that is safer for everybody. That is safer for everybody.
Understood. Now, I'm going to give you the big picture. The violence we have, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Minnesota, and some of the protesters. It seems like a lot of the protesters, and it's up to the FBI to investigate, that some of them are paid protesters. And some of them are the same faces that show up in Minneapolis and then show up in New York or show up in someplace else. Mm-hmm. Are there professional paid agitators?
John, I think there's no doubt that there are professional paid agitators.
So that is the FBI's job to do?
Yeah, it's everybody's job, because we have this wonderful tradition, principle, commitment, bedrock principle of society that you can peaceably assemble, and that you have the freedom to protest, and that you have the freedom to have your opinions, and that is protected. But people should know that people are being paid to exercise those, I'll put rights in quotes, and they also should know that when these things are discussed, protesting that's lawful does not include violence. It does not include the destruction of property. There is no First Amendment protection for crimes of violence. There's no First Amendment protection for destroying property. That's not protesting. That's not opinion. It's going way beyond any protected protesting or protected opinion. And that is mixed up. And I want to be clear that when you destroy property, people's property, or you engage in violence, whether the motivation is political or commercial, it's still a crime.
Understood. Now, the big picture. There's been allegations, and I won't mention any names, of American citizens, whether they're living on the East Coast or they're living in China or whatever, that foreign money is being siphoned through them. Is that the job of the CIA if the American citizens are living in Singapore or the FBI?
I've heard these allegations. We've heard these allegations, and I do believe it is the responsibility of the U.S. government and a whole of government approach to investigate this, particularly if the source of funds is a foreign country. If what is happening is a foreign adversary is funding discontent in the U.S., that's a problem, and it's a problem that we should have a whole of federal government approach to combating.
Understood. What else do you want to tell the American people? I mean, we talked about the quality of life. You have to interact with New Jersey. You have to interact with northern New York State and Long Island.
I think that going back to the big picture and some of the protesting and the protesting around immigration, I believe, and I hope all the American people believe, that there can be no doubt that if somebody is a violent criminal or has been a violent criminal, the immigration debate should not shield them from prosecution. I think that that's an important, fundamental issue that we can all agree on.
For example, that guy in Minneapolis that went and kicked off and damaged the federal vehicle, and it ended up causing him his life. He kicked off the back lights, so he just kicked them and damaged them and killed them.
Yep, John, I'm not going to speak about specific instances, but it is absolutely clear that your political opinion is not a shield if you commit violence, if you destroy property. And I think we can all agree on that. And your immigration status is not a shield if you're a violent criminal. Those are things that I think every American knows. Because if it were that way, we wouldn't have the First Amendment like we do. I mean, you have to draw that line on violence and on destruction of property because it frees the rest of us up to share our opinions. That's so important.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell the American people on a Sunday morning?
Well, I think the president made his pick, and look, we should note that the president cares about the quality of life in New York. I think it's really important to remind New Yorkers of that, and he's very supportive of the efforts that we've made to get gun-toting criminals off the streets of New York. But I was happy to see that he made a selection for the Federal Reserve. So now we know who that is, and we can move on. And it's always good for markets when you take a question and you answer it. So I was very happy to see that he's made his selection, and I'm very supportive of the selection that he made in Kevin Warsh.
Well, thank you so much, Jay Clayton, United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Thank you again for coming on, and thank you for everything you do to improve the quality of life of all our citizens in this part of the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Stay warm.
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.